Hi, and welcome back to Future Fiber. This is your host, Jenny. This video is part of a series called I Like Your Sweater, and it's a place for me to invite other fiber arts creators who are interested in fashion and style, and hear a little more about their creation process and what it means to them. Today's guest is a long-term friend of mine, and on top of currently working in the fashion industry, is also an avid hobby crocheter. Please welcome Sabrina. Due to some technical difficulties on my part, the audio for Sabrina's portion of the recording might sound a little bit choppy and noisy. I've included subtitles for the entirety of this video. Hopefully that helps you keep up with the conversation. I debated refilming this, but we had a lot of interesting points that came up and I didn't want to lose that. So hopefully the listening is not an issue for a lot of people. I think for our call, it helps to have a little bit of context of like how we met and stuff. So I guess we met a couple years ago when you were still in school at Pratt, and we got into the same fashion style, and that's why we're here. I was really, as I said, I was excited to have you on because of that beautiful, stunning, gorgeous fit that you had at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. And that's how some of the viewers that are in my YouTube circle might know you through the New York Times article that you were featured in. So yeah, with all of that, if you could just introduce yourself really quickly, who you are, and like, what you're into and what kind of fiber arts you're into.
Yeah, so my name is Sabrina Brokenbell. I guess I have a background in fashion design as well as fiber arts. I can sew, I can knit, I can crochet, I can draw, I can paint, like all the artsy stuff. I work in fashion, so I guess it's good to go to be in the industry you studied for, so that's nice. But yeah, I have a very heavy fashion background. So I think it really it's like a one-to-one translation towards the craft. It's like, yes, I know how to make clothes, and I guess I can like easily translate that into like knitting and crocheting clothes. So it was like a pretty like smooth transition, like a continuation.
And I actually didn't realize that you were into fiber arts when we first met. So this is like, it was such a revelation when I started getting into like crocheting and knitting, and then I was like, oh my god, she's like a genius. She knows how to make her own clothes.
When I was in my grandma taught me how to crochet, but I never knew how to knit. I actually learned how to knit when I was in college because we had to take like a knitwear course. So we had to learn how to hand knit, and then we learned how to do like the flatbed knitting. And I will say that when I was in school, my knitting professor was very impressed. And that's the only thing I can flex.
I mean, I think you got a lot of things to flex, but that certainly is a flex. I guess like, so in that class, there were students that didn't know how to knit at all, crochet at all, or work with like knitwear material.
Mm-hmm. It's like they taught us from scratch. Like my professor, like they wanted us like by the curriculum that, because we're gonna cut like knitwear fabric in like large yardage, but they wanted us to understand like how the stitching works. So it's like we make it like on a large scale, so you can see it on like the really really tiny scale of like how knit fabric is. It's like we'll make the stitches and the loops, and then like when we work with knitwear and do like the serging and the serger machine and all that, like we can like see the little like loops in the fabric, and I think that really helps like your understanding of like how knitwear works, like why it's different from wovens and just like the textile, like the texture of the fabric. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I guess it's different to have, there's kind of two ways of working with like knit material, right? Like you have like already pre-knit large swaths of like knit fabric that you can cut into, but then there's also like designing a knitwear from scratch, like with like the grading and all of that. Did you like learn both of that while you were in school?
I think we didn't learn necessarily I guess it was paired with our like traditional, like it was like one of those classes you have to take in addition to like your core like training. So like in our like hour long, like 6 hour long studio classes, like we'd learn like how to like adjust patterns and like sizing and like grading and stuff. And then I think in our knitwear classes, it was like complementary to that. So they wouldn't necessarily teach us like grading like knitwear stuff, but they were like, it was like under the assumption of like, oh, if you know how to do this, like in your like 6 hour studio class, like you can like ask your professor and learn how it would work. But it's basically like the same thing. I know some people might say like knitwear and like wovens are different, but my approach to like my knitwear pieces are just like, oh, if this is a woven, like this is like a shirt I would like buy in a woven, but it's just crochet. So I guess that's how I think I approach my like knitwear with like a woven sensibility.
Yeah, that's so interesting because like in the last interview that I did, and kind of in the series, we were talking about like, oh, I wonder if it's very different, like how people design. I mean, I'm sure your knowledge is a little bit more professional and like geared towards like mass production in sort of a way, but for like us consumers who are designing and reading off of like patterns that are designed for somebody who's knitting just like typically one size of like a written pattern, we were kind of wondering, oh, if there's like a huge difference in how those things are designed. And it seems like in your case and in your experience, it's like generally like pretty similar. Well, now that you showed the pieces, we gotta talk about them. We gotta talk about them. They're so amazing. And I'm gonna insert a photo like in the beginning and throughout the video so that people, you know, can get a understanding of the visual impact that this has. But like, let's talk about this. So how did you come up with the concept? Did you know that you were gonna wear this to, like, did you know that you were gonna go to the Sheep and Wool Festival?
I mean, like I have like some friends in school, and you know, we always like throw around ideas of like, oh, there's this like cool thing. Wouldn't it be cool if we could go? But you know, it's like you don't have any like serious plans about it. So you're like, oh, maybe like one day I'll go, like if the timing's right, but no like concrete plans. And then I think like a month or so before, I was like hanging out with my friend. She's like, oh, my mom wants to like go, and like we have like an extra room in the Airbnb. Like, do you want to come? Like, she already bought the tickets and everything. And I was like, oh, well, this is very convenient. Oh, it just like, it kind of like came into my lap. Like, I wasn't expecting to go at all. I was working on this since January as like a thing to do to like keep me busy during the winter. And I was thinking like, I don't know when I'm gonna wear this, but it'll be nice just to like make it. And then like once she told me like, oh, we're gonna go and like we have an extra room and a ticket, like, do you wanna go? And I was like, oh, I'll wear this to it. I'll wear the skirt to it. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I only have the skirt. I guess I'll make a top too. So then the top came after the skirt. But the skirt came first.
That's amazing. So when you were designing the skirt and like the top as well, did you have a how did you go about doing that? Did you like sketch it out and then you just I'm just trying to understand because I am so bad at crochet and I can't like imagine just like trying to figure out like, okay, this is how many stitches that I'm going to do across, like this is the rate of increase and like this is where I'm going to put the motifs. So just like walk me through what you were thinking when you were doing all of that.
I think I still have the sketch. Hold on. It was like taped up to my the side of my desk. But I made this back in like January. And I thought, because I usually do a lot of crocheting around like the really cold months or like the really hot months, just to have like take my mind off of whatever. And I like to have like really big, like elaborate, like detailed projects that I can like work on over time. So I was like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have like a crochet like skirt? Because I don't have a crochet skirt. And I think the way I approached it was definitely from like my like woven background. So I guess I wasn't necessarily thinking about like increases or things, but I was thinking about it more of like how would I make it in a woven. But I guess my approach to like knitwear is like how I would make it in a woven, except for I'm not gonna buy the fabric, I'm gonna make the fabric. So when I guess this is kind of like a rectangular, in my mind, it's like a woven skirt with like little rectangular panels that you would gather in and then sew in to like make the value. But instead, it's like you're increasing stitches along the way. And I think I used a lot of granny squares to just get like the rectangles, and then I would like crochet around it, but then like decrease it or increase it based on how much volume I needed in the skirt. And there's no pattern for it either. I kind of just came up with it as I went along. But yeah, and then I decreased the stitches. I like crocheted like two stitches together, like going around for the to make the waistband smaller, and then I folded it over and put an elastic inside. But I guess in that way, I always I like hang out at a lot of yarn shops all the time, and sometimes like people ask me about patterns and like stitches, and I feel like in that way I'm a pretty bad crocheter because I don't do like a lot of the traditional, like I just like make it up as I go along. And I know that's not the best, but it's worked for me so far. So
Yeah, I mean, that just shows there's no like wrong or right way to crochet, right? Like, and I think I think that's like how a lot of people learned. Like you said, you learned from your grandma, you said, right? And so I'm sure she wasn't teaching you exactly, okay, this is like this particular stitch. You're not learning about like specific terms or anything. So you know how to do things and you know how to like kind of make it up as you go, but then like trying to relay that to other people is like a whole different like thing.
it's like sometimes after the New York Times article came out, people were like asking me for patterns, and even with my other sweater I posted, they were like asking me for like patterns and like how much yarn did I use, and I always felt so bad. I was like, oh, I don't have an answer. I can't just say willy nilly.
You can't just say vibes.
And then sometimes like I'll like be in the yarn shop and I'll like talk to people who are like very hardcore, like this amount of stitches, like if they add like an extra stitch, they'll like flog the whole thing. And I'll be like, wow, very dedicated. I appreciate it. But me, I would simply pretend I didn't see the extra stitch. And me and maybe that's something for me to work on. But I feel like I'm very much like a big picture sort of thing. So I think it's like if overall at the end of the day, if it like looks like a sweater, then it's a sweater. And I don't think people are gonna like notice like an extra stitch here. And there's like definitely ways like the more you like work with the pattern, work with like even like patterns and fabrics and like granny squares, like the more you do it, the more you find ways to like hide your mistakes and like make it look like it's intentional. And I think, and at the end of the day, like people aren't gonna like zone in with like a magnifying glass and like look at the one stitch you didn't like cross over here. But I think, I think it's like a balance between like being super like critical of your work and like having fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Feel like a balance.
that's so true. And I get a lot of like whenever I talk about my knitting, I get some comments about like, because I'm also similar. Like I work off of patterns mostly because I don't want to do the brain thinky think. So I like following instructions. But even if I like mess up a stitch here or there, or if I like knit too much or like knit too little, it's like there are ways to just kind of fix it as you go, and you just kind of got to go with it. And people are like, well, I frog everything, like you said, some people do. And I think that's definitely an approach, but like if it's stressing you out, like you shouldn't like worry about it because who's gonna know?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna know.
I think it's like it says, like big picture things. It's like maybe I guess for some people they like to have the satisfaction of being like this is perfect, like everything about it's absolutely perfect. But I think a lot of things for like my approach is like I just want to make cute clothes for myself to like wear. I made this like little sweater for myself like years ago and I like still wear it like every day. And it's not perfect, but it's comfy and I like to wear it and it's nice. But I think some people, I appreciate the people who are like every stitch has to be perfect, but sometimes I get concerned of it like you're robbing yourself like the joy if you're like focusing on like everything being perfect. And especially it's like I guess it's also a way of like picking your battles because some things in life have to be absolutely perfect. But does a sweater have to be absolutely perfect? I don't know.
There you go. That's wise words. Maybe your tax returns have to be perfect, but not your sweater.
It's like we can't have everything perfect all the time, everything. And I think there's also like a pressure today too with like social media and everything of like having the desire to be like everything has to be perfect and spotless all the time because you don't want people like in the comments like saying like weird new things. But I think you have to like let it go sometimes. It's like and like really think about like what are you doing this for? Like I'm making this photo because I want to have something to wear. Like I want to have something cute to wear. And sometimes I see like, oh, I made a mistake. I'll just put an extra ruffle on it and no. But that's my approach.
Who's gonna know? Nobody's gonna know. I love that. Oh, that's such a good way to put it too. So I really appreciate you like explaining that your thought process around that. I think that's so. I think I could also learn from that a little bit more too. So we got this far along in the call, and then I never actually asked you the question of like, how would you personally describe your style, like both in and out of knitwear?
I guess in knitwear, I guess out of knitwear, it's still very like girly, very frilly, and like a little bit over the top. And I think I try to like put that in all aspects of my life, like in my room, like in my like work. Sometimes I like leave little like cute post-it notes for my coworkers. Uh, I think it like oozes into all parts of my life, whether I like it or not, or whether I try to like tone it down or not. And I think it like comes out in my knitwear too, because it's like I like ruffles, I like flowers, I like really like small details on things that don't need to be really detailed. So I think in my knitwear it comes out in it being like super frilly, like big sleeves and big sleeves like lots of like gathers and like peplums. Like this one has like a little like gather. So does this one and has like a little lace trim on it. So, like everything's like super detailed, even though it doesn't have to be. Those are like the sort of things that I like. I like things. I guess overall, I like really like detailed ornate things, and I think it's becoming like really like more rare today, just of like how like fast fashion and like mass production everything is, and like obviously it's like a lot cheaper for these brands to like make really simple clothing. So I think it just makes my appreciation for details like that much more for me. It's just like everything needs to be dripping in lace and like ruffles, like flowers, and like lots of volume, lots of fabric. That's it.
What you said about this isn't stuff that you can buy necessarily, like in the shelves of a store. You can't typically you can't walk into a store nowadays and like buy something that's like dripping in lace, as you said, covered in ruffles, and for people that kind of have a very defined style that kind of exists outside of the mainstream fashion trends, like I feel like in a lot of ways, like resorting to like making it yourself is sometimes like the best method. And so I like it makes total sense. And it's like if you're gonna make it yourself, why not have all these details?
Make it the best. And I think it's like, oh, like sometimes like I'll find a sweater and I'm like, oh, it's cute, but I wish the sleeves were bigger. I wish it had like a little like pepper. But when you make it yourself, you go, and I can add everything I want. Like it can have like a big collar and like big sleeves and like a nice little like peplum skirt and there's be lace everywhere and I think.
So as far as like fiber arts goes, how often do you find yourself doing it? Do you? I know like we've kind of focused around fashion and wearables, but do you kind of do it as to a means to an end? Like you have an end product that you want to make, so you do it, or do you ever do it? Do you find yourself doing it as like a hobby?
I usually do it as like a means to an end. I think I try to be really like intentional with the things I make. I think there's a lot of pressure to like you like see it like I like dip my toes sort of like into like the knitwear and the crochet community, but I'm not like fully in it. But I like to like see what people are doing, and I like sometimes I feel like there's this pressure to like always make something new, even if you don't need it. And I think that that doesn't really resonate with me because even if we like make all these things, like sweaters take up a lot of space. But even so, I think when I like knit or like make something, I usually do it because I need like another sweater to like wear. And I don't actually, it's kind of silly because I don't own that many sweaters. But until recently, I looked in my closet and I could use a couple more sweaters, a couple more cardigans. So I usually only like make something because I need to have it, or it's because I want it to exist like really badly. So it's like I wanted like a crochet skirt for like a really long time. So I made it, or I needed like another sweater to wear in the fall, or like another like sweater tunic to wear. But I think it's like a combination of like a means to an end, but also like a little bit of like the hobby of like, oh, I want to see like what I can make. Like I want to see like how like frilly and like ruffly I can make the sweater. But I try to like find the balance between like having it because I need it or having it because like maybe it would be like nice to post on social media, like show off to people. And I think that's like something I have to like toe the line with and thinking about why am I making, and that's also something they like drilled into our heads in school too. The idea of like, well, why are you making this? Why does it need to exist? Like those sort of existential questions that rattle around whenever I like, get started to make something. I feel like I should only like make something because I really want it or because I really like need something to wear because it's getting cold out. But I don't think I should like feel the pressure to like make something because I need to like impress people or I need to show something off to people online or like have people like pay attention to like what I'm doing. I think that's something I always think about. It's like, well, why are we making this? And do we need to make it? Do we really need it? And how much yarn is going to cost us? And how much do we need? Yeah.
It's interesting hearing that perspective because I think being that I have a channel that's just like about knitting, a lot of I have to basically I am always faced with this dilemma of like I have to constantly create something for me to have content to upload. And I do also do like knitting as, you know, for the enjoyment of the process, but then I have to also balance like time of like how am I spending too long on this versus the final result and like how much I have at the end of the day. So it's good that like this is like I feel like how you described your process is a little bit similar to how people who are maybe not as like deep into the knitting sphere like operate. Like it's just like, yeah, you know how to knit, you like knitting, but a lot of the times like how you knit or like crochet is like seasonal or like for a specific purpose. And so yeah, I guess that's just like a PSA for people. Like, yeah, if you want to be into it like that, like that's great. And I'm into it like that because, you know, I'm into it and I need something. But like, yeah, this how I knit is very not normal.
No, it's okay. I mean, everyone has their hobbies that are a little bit not normal. I mean, I have mine. I think I have several.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what keeps people interesting. Like, you don't, you need that little bit of weirdness in you to kind of like have something that you can identify as your personality. Knitting is my personality. Let's talk about just like in general creating your wearables, like anything that you put on your body that you create, what that kind of means for you, and how do you balance that now working in fashion? I feel like you're doing the process of creating for other people, but like how does that differentiate from like how you create for your own self?
I think in the fashion industry, I mean, it's no secret it's very like profit driven, and I'm sure there's like we always see like these like innovative like designs and like super beautiful, and like sometimes you see all these like new like knitwear pieces that are just like drop dead gorgeous from like these like couture houses, and you like think like, well, how come no one makes like sweaters and dresses like that like for the mainstream? It's because it's like it's hard to like scale up. It's like it's hard for like the factories to like be able to like afford all the materials and like the cost and labor of like making like such like a beautiful like knitwear piece like available to everyone and like at a price point that everyone would want to buy. But I think it's like seeing like that's how like the industry operates, and then sometimes getting like a little sad that it's like, you know, there's pieces out there that are like so beautiful that are never going to see the light of day, I guess, because like it's not profitable for companies to like make designs like that. So I feel like sometimes it like gets me a little sad. That like, yes, I would love to see like skirts like this like out in the open, and like tunics like this easily like available to buy for other people. But it's just not profitable for companies to make it like that, and it makes me like a little disappointed and like sad in the industry. It's like it like values like money over like, creativity and innovation, but I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So I think in that sense, it's like up to me to like make the pieces that I want to wear. Because unless I have like $1 million or I get like really rich, like there's no other way for me to like have clothes like this for myself. So it's kind of like almost like a mission that's like if I want to have like really nice like knitwear pieces, like I'm gonna have to make it myself because no one else is gonna make it for me or at like a price that I can afford. So I think I guess that's how I like balance it within like industry versus like personal practice, and just the idea of like some of these like and there's like been like a whole thing of people realizing that like crochet can only be done by hand, and then people like going into stores and seeing like, well, if that was crocheted by hand, then why is it $20? And then you have to just be like, well, that's how like it is because you want this crochet trend, but you don't want to spend all this money on it. So it's kind of like if you want like a really nice crochet piece, you kind of have to do it yourself. And I think that's like my mission for like my knitwear. It's like if I want something like nice that's like ethically made and like really pretty and detailed, I have to do it myself.
You brought up a couple points that I think really are good, and so I'm going to kind of work backwards. Yeah, the manual labor of crochet thing is like I think it's gotten to a point the spread of information around that I feel like has been made in a way that I feel like I didn't really see before. With maybe it's just because I'm in that like the algorithm is like feeding me that stuff, but I feel like I wonder how many people just like out there know and care about that. Like even if we tell them, I feel like a lot of people around me know, like, hey, like crochet, like that stuff needs to be made sustainably. So like it shouldn't be costing $20. But like I wonder an average shopper at Target if they like care or have that in their brain. So it's like, what's the best method of telling people that like, yeah, like affordability of clothes is like something that you should keep in mind, but also like the companies just want money out of you, and that's why it's cheap like that versus like you don't like we don't need this many clothes. And I feel like a lot of it, even like me knitting, is like out of a want rather than a need. So it's like, how do we balance that?
But yeah, I mean, even like in like woven clothes too. Like I think a lot of people are under the assumption that all clothes are made by machine. And it's like, yes, there's a sewing machine, but there's someone behind the sewing machine making the clothes. And similarly, people like, oh, there's knitwear machines, but there's people, behind the machines, like even programming the machines, and then also like doing the linking sometimes. And it's like, I think people are under the assumption that all clothes are like made completely by robots, and that's why it's okay for the price to be low. And I think when people realize that, like, I think the whole crochet thing really caught people off guard because it made them think like there's no way, like they're like, oh well, maybe all the other clothes are done by machine, but there's no way for this specific like garment to be made by machine. I think that's what like creeped people out a little bit, like the idea that like there really is no way to make like an authentic granny square. Like there's like knit techniques that can mimic it, but there's like an authentic like granny square, it has to be done by hand. I think that's what people like got creeped out because you see so many like granny squares all over the place because it's the trend. And then they realize that someone had to like actually sit down with like a little needle and make this. And then how much were they getting paid if this pants like a long like crocheted flare pants is $40. And it's made completely of granny squares, and how much the person making the granny squares get paid?
Suspicious.
Suspicious and sad.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've actually seen that as well. This is kind of a tangent, but what you mentioned about knit techniques that kind of mimic crochet, like I saw that, and I saw a tank top, and it was being marketed as a crochet tank top, and they were like, it's made by machines, so it's ethical and sustainable. And I was like, what? And then I looked closer at it, and it was knit, actually, just like they like made it to look like crochet. But then I guess like they're able to do that because like an average like person who's not into knitwear like that, like they don't care.
They wouldn't be able to tell the difference either. It's sad.
It's like good and bad at the same time, because if it's like, okay, well, so a machine made it, so nobody was like getting ripped off with their crochet pieces. Nobody was like, they're doing this by hand and getting paid like 2 cents for granny square. But on the other hand, it's like kind of greenwashing, because you're like, well, this is just knit, and you're calling it crochet, and then it's, I don't want to say like you're spreading misinformation, but also just kind of like,
it's misleading. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, call it just like a knit top if you want. But I mean, crochet's a trend, so, and people put anything to get like the trendy like line, so that people like click on. That's just how it is, I guess.
we live in a society.
We do.
What you said about kind of balancing the profit, like what the businesses strive for is profit, and that makes sense because like that's what keeps the company going, versus like your personal practice, I guess. Those, I feel like that's really true in like any industry, where you, unless you work in like finance, then you're making money to make money. But like I think, yeah, I mean that's okay as well, because it's like, I mean, you got to do what you're gonna do.
You gotta pay the bills somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta buy the boba somehow.
I know, it's like, how the heck am I going to fund my addiction to bubble tea? Like
my boba habits.
my habits. Yeah, but like I think it's a good thing that people are feeling that conflict, because it means you're thinking actively and you're aware of like yourself and how you exist in the world. But it is sometimes difficult in, like, even me as like a designer, I'm thinking about like is the stuff that I'm working on, does it even matter? Is it like helping people? It's like that existential dread.
Oh, we're getting so existential.
I just want to do my little crafts.
Me every day. But I think I think it's like it's nice to be aware of like our impact on things, but I sometimes I get worried. It's like maybe I like think too much about everything, but I can't have fun. But it's like yes, like I would like to make a new sweater, but do I need to make a new sweater? And then where the yarn for the sweater come from? Was that ethically made? And you can like get yourself into like that spiral. So I definitely think it's like learning like the balance for yourself. And then for everyone, like it's like you can't care about like you want to care about every single thing, but there's no humanly possible way to do everything perfect, like and have everything be like perfect. It's like, yeah, the stitches can be absolutely perfect, but was the yarn ethically made? Where was it sourced? And were the workers at the yarn shop being treated fairly? And I think it's like just that, like, you can really work yourself into a spiral, but you really have to like focus on like what's important to you and why are you making what you're making. And I guess does it make you happy too?
Yeah. I think it's like everyone is just trying their best. I think that's really it. And then everything in moderation. I think it just comes, that's like the cyclical theme of our conversation. It's like you think about what is important to you and like just do your best and have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a tangent, but since you mentioned yarn shops, what's your favorite? Give me a list of your favorite yarn shops in New York.
Well, I think I only have one, and it's downtown Lawrence, and I go there all the time, and I'm besties with the yarn, with the shop girls, and I bring snacks, and they let me sit and like knit and eat snacks, and they like tell me like when the new yarn's coming, and we like DM each other on Instagram, and then like, oh, I need this one, and they're like, oh, we're getting this soon, and I like pop in snacks and we paint. So it's really fun. I like going there all the time. It's like a really nice environment, and I also like that like all the fibers are like natural fibers, so I don't have to like worry about like sometimes you go to like some of the like Michaels and they'll be like, yeah, it's wool yarn. I like pick it up and it's like this isn't wool. But like that's like it's wool, it's cotton. So I can just like have my range, like my pick to like see which colors, and it's always like color coded too. And they always know what color I like. I like going to downtown yarns. It's my favorite.
That's a plug for downtown yarns. I also really love that store. I mean, I love all the yarn stores in New York that I've been to, but that one certainly is like really up there on the list for me as well. It's just like the way that they managed to pack all the yarns in there, because it's not a big space, but then they managed to like do like
Mm-hmm. It's small. It's like the shelves and then the rolling like ladder and then the little plushies. And I also like how they have like little samples hanging up of like all the little sweaters and the yarn that you can look. So good. And then the needles and then the little tote bags.
yeah. I love that store, and the color coordination, as you said, is like amazing. You walk in, it's like rainbow, like walls, like floor to ceiling. Oh, now I want to go back. Why did I put myself on a yarn ban? Now I can't buy yarn.
I also like they have like this cotton fleece yarn that I really like. It's like cotton and like a little bit of like something, but it's like it works. It feels like cotton, but like when I wear it, it's like nice and warm. I really like that.
Okay, that's another great yarn recommendation. I love that. Okay, let's talk about like what's next for you. Like, how do you see yourself kind of continuing with your fiber arts?
I think I've noticed that my work has gotten like the stitches have gotten smaller and then the work has gotten more detailed. So I think I'm just gonna like get smaller and smaller with like the needle size and then have it like be like super, super detailed. Like I like the like in Tarsha like knits where they like make like a sweater look like a painting. So I always wanted one of those. So maybe I think I have some ideas of like a sweater I'd want of like a painting I really like with like really, really, really small stitches to get it like super detailed. So it's like I could like hang it up on the wall and be art, but also a sweater. I think that's something I want to do.
Okay, when that drops, you gotta let me know. I mean, I'm gonna be tapped in whenever you post progress, but that's so cool. That's such a good idea. Um, and what you said about your knits getting more detailed as like you knit or knit and crochet more. I think that's like a phenomena that happens with like just like hobby knitters like me too. Cause like once you've created like two chunky sweaters, you're like, okay, like yeah, I want something a little bit more practical. Like you always strive for something that you know will like get more use. And I guess the fabrics that the smaller needles kind of create is like a little bit more suited for like everyday wear. So I also like find myself like I never thought I would be knitting on like toothpicks basically. Like I never thought I would be knitting socks or like knitting like little tank tops, like summer tank tops. But yet here I am making a lot of those. So it's just like it's I think that's like not everyone's like this, but it is a natural progression and it makes sense.
Yes, I think so because I think it's like I think for me, it like also goes back to it. It's like I want to mimic like a small stitch of like a knitwear garment in a store. So I think that's like what I like. I guess that's kind of like what I'm striving for is to like get like the quality of the fabric to be like have the same weight as like a knit like sweater or like dress you'd find in like a store, and like those like fine like stitches. Like I really like. So I want to like get as close to that as possible without having to like use like a flatbed machine, or, like hand knit like really tiny stitches.
Yeah. Oh, the flatbed machines. I've never used one, but I'm really curious on like if I should. Do you ever feel like you would get back into that? Like you would like purchase one of your own or?
I think flatbed knitting is such a cool other animal. When I was in school, my professor they would tell us like we'd have like flatbed machines, but the like really good ones they discontinued making them like years ago. So you have to find them secondhand, and if it breaks, you have to find like the parts secondhand. And it's like it's such a whole like commitment to have like a flatbed knitting machine. And it's like, and even so, where would I put it? That's another question. I have nowhere to put it. But and also the little like needle teeth, they like can catch on you and catch on your garments. Ah, it's a commitment.
Yeah, I feel like that's like definitely like a technical skill that people used to learn because that's what they kind of used for mass sweater production at one point. But now it's getting like a little bit more mechanized so that they don't use those machines anymore is like what I've heard. Yeah, so it's interesting that it's coming back as like a hobby thing. And I would like to learn it as well, but yeah, like you said, I don't have space.
It takes up a lot of space. It's almost like a keyboard kind of like in the middle of your room. But then also you need space for the fabric to hang off of at the bottom too. So it needs fabric space this way and then this way too. And then sometimes the little yarn cones can get like tangled with like the little antennas kind of in the back. Well, it's a whole nother animal.
Yeah, I'm the more I like get not get older, but like the more I like do crafts and stuff, the more I'm realizing I'm not actually that into like how do I say this? I'll do something that takes longer if it's easier. So like I'll hand knit something versus like I have a circular sock machine, but then I haven't used it yet because I'm like I don't want to learn how to use this.
No!
So I'll just hand knit a sock.
Is it the one with like the little pegs on it, or is it in the
Oh, like it has like the metal
machine?
teeth. Yeah.
Oh,
I had one 3D printed and I haven't used it.
oh. You should make some socks.
I will have to attempt that at some point. It's just like my brain doesn't have any more space. It just has all the lyrics to like songs from the 90s in it, but like no space for sock machine.
I think socks, I think, would be a big flex. I don't think I can make socks because I would just lose them. And then I'd be extra sad because I made them.
Yeah, I have a confession to make to you, and it's that I lost like half of the socks that I hand knit in various accidents. So I don't know why I keep making socks because I'm like, why? Why do I do this to myself?
What's kind of sucks?
Yeah, rest in peace. A prayer.
R.I.P. socks.
Okay, so we have about like 5 minutes left of our time. Do you have anything that you wanted to kind of talk about, or anything you wanted to us to touch on?
I thought going to Rhinebeck was really fun. I like to see the sheep. They're very cute. And I like that you can buy, like, I thought it was like a nice, like, people talk about like farm to table all the time, but sheep to yarn, that's really fun too. It's like you can see the sheep and you can like see them and like know their name, and then like you'll have like the vendor will like have the yarn made from that sheep and it'll have its name on it. And I thought that was really cute and cool. I didn't buy one, but I saw it and it was really cute. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's reason enough to go to Rhinebeck, just so that you can see the sheep, know their names, get a little bit of their yarn, and know that it's been made from a sheep you know.
Oh, the sheep are so cute, and I liked all their like different like colors and their little horns, and they had like breed talk, so they would like talk about the sheep. Oh, it was really fun.
Yeah, I like I like the natural colors of the sheep and like the different animals, and then how that comes through when you knit it up. Cause like the subtle variegation of the yarn and stuff, I feel like really gives it dimension, and you don't really get that sometimes if it's like a flat, like bleached out. Yeah. So I feel like in the next coming years I'll like try and knit with more natural fibers that are not dyed. So that'll be an interesting time for me. Neutral Jenny coming soon, loading up.
I mean, all the things I make are kind of one color, and I think that's a little silly of me. But it's all beige, or like ivory beige. I think that's silly. It's so silly, and this is me. And it's like I've been into ivory and cream in such a long time, but none of these are ivory and cream. I don't know why I did that. I think that's silly.
It's just your aesthetic.
I guess so. I still love them very much. I haven't worn them since. They've just been folded up in like a special box with like mothballs and stuff inside. I guess I'm like keeping them as art now. It's like I like them too much to wear. Like I made them to wear and I wore them once and now they're like in a little memory box. Maybe I'll wear them again soon in the fall. I've kind of just been like keeping them away in my closet. I guess I get kind of sentimental about some pieces. Like some pieces I like won't wear them, and then some pieces like my other sweaters, I'll like wear them all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I mean, I mostly make stuff for like Practicality or whatever, and I make them to wear. But then sometimes you just gotta do it because you like it, and it doesn't. You don't need to think too much about if like it fits into your wardrobe, or if you like if it's practical or not. Cause like, who cares? We're here for a good time. Like, we gotta do what we can do.
That's true.
Okay, so now it's self-promotion time. Let us know where we can find you. Plug anything you want to plug to my audience.
It's just my Instagram mostly. It's at why you dress like that. Yeah, it's my Instagram.
Yes. Oh, you're also taking commissions too? Did I read that correctly?
Oh, I have 2 commission slots for this headscarf, like a little headscarf I make, and it's like has it's similar. I also wore it to Rhinebeck in the photo, but it's like a little triangle with like double crochet like spacing and like little ruffles on it. It's really cute. So I have 2 slots open to make those. If anyone wants one.
Yeah. Contact her on Instagram if you want to get one of those cute headbands, headscarves. She's an artist. She's a vision in cream. I'm so thankful that you came on to talk about, your work, how you think about fashion and all of that. And yeah, thanks again.
No problem.